I hope you're doing well. Today we will see what implications that occurred in the Legend of Korra are actually horrifying. And I welcome you to the Question Answer channel. Today Kyle Allen, Ethan Araki and Julian Hernandez will present their point of view to us. We will start with the answer of Kyle Allen.
Okay, this is one that goes under the radar, and honestly once you put the thought into it is terrifying. Bumi might be dealing with some seriously traumatic memories from his time in the United Forces. During Book 2 of Legend of Korra, Tenzin, Kya, and Bumi are searching for Jinora's lost spirit in the spirit realm, and end up in the fog of lost souls. Tenzin describes the actual mechanics of the fog of lost souls as they enter it. The fog of lost souls is a spirit prison for humans. I read about it in an ancient text. The fog is actually a spirit that infects your mind and drives you mad, imprisoning you in your own darkest memories. Okay, really want to put attention to that whole darkest memories part. Now, Bumi eventually gets infected by the fog, and what happens next is often brushed off as some good old Avatar humor. But really pay attention to what he says. Wait a second. Yes, they're all around us. The cannibals, they're everywhere. Yes, there are. They're gonna eat every last one of us. They're closing in. I've gotta get out of here. Excuse me. So what you're gonna tell me is that Bumi, the guy who wanted to charge in headfirst into a northern water tribe fleet, has a darkest memory of cannibals. Okay, this begs a few questions and/or assumptions. So first of all, apparently there are cannibals in the Avatar universe. So that's freaking dark. And secondly, Bumi is a pretty brave guy. He was so highly ranked for a reason, so I'm going to assume that this is reasonable fear in his mind. There is a high chance that Bumi watched his own men get eaten alive by other people. If this is the case, it's no wonder he left. The fog of lost souls doesn't just confuse you, it brings up your darkest memories. Tenzin was living through the fact that he had self-doubt, and Kya was going through doubt in the people around her and some signs of paranoia. But Bumi, his darkest memory is legitimately being surrounded by cannibals and being reasonably afraid of them. I don't know what kind of mission that was, but I can only imagine the kind of PTSD that he could be suffering from an experience like that. So yeah, cannibalism exists in the Avatar universe and it might have permanently damaged one of our favorite characters on a psychological level. That's just dark. Thanks for reading and have a wonderful day. Less than 3.
The following answer is from Ethan Araki.
The same as before, it was a fine show on its own, just couldn't really hold up to the foundation of Atla. Season 1 was fine, 2 was utter garbage, 3 and 4 were okay and even great during some parts. I thought that Aemon was a pretty good villain. He brought up a relevant issue in the fact that benders have all the power that wasn't as serious of a plot point in the comics, though looked at. How we see Korra start off with all 3 elements bugs me. I think it would have been fine if they showed it a bit better, but honestly I'll get over it. The way she learns airbending, however, is something that takes a bit longer to process. It's as if the entire episode of her learning the techniques were pointless if she was gonna just do this. Vaatu and Analak I utterly hated with a burning passion, mainly because it forced the idea that there has to be a good or evil side. For a show with supposedly complex villains, this was a very childish approach to what would have probably been one of my personal favorites if handled right. Not to mention, I hate this scene so much. If I wanted to watch DBZ, I would have watched DBZ. Zahir was a fine villain. I thought there were some exciting moments, but I don't agree with what sub-bending technique they gave him, which ended up just being another way to fly. However, I did enjoy the inclusion of making a new air nomad tribe. I thought the reasoning was a bit iffy, but I saw it necessary as it's something I'm sure we all were expecting to see at some point. Season 3 overall was an enjoyable season that I had fun watching. Of course, there is one thing I couldn't let slide. This scene. For some reason Zahir beat Korra so badly that she ended up having a bunch of issues in the next season. Something that never made sense to me, because you would think get 3 of your bending abilities taken away, having the literal avatar spirit ripped out of you would be a bit more traumatic. I get why, she was poisoned and yada yada, and all that. I do understand, but I just feel it was a character arc that would have made more sense if it had happened after season 2 when she lost her connection to her past lives. However, beyond that little tiny criticism, season 4 was a pretty fun season. From seeing Toph finally, to Kuvira, who was personally my favorite villain in the series, it was all around a very good season. And they did redeem themselves quite a bit later for that DBZ-ESC fight with this final battle. While I'm disappointed that they didn't as consistently use the original martial art inspirations and preferred to go a more kickboxing-like approach, you'd have to be blind to not call this one of the best fight scenes in the Avatar franchise. I have a lot of answers talking about why TLOK was a disappointment, or why it's so heavily hated. While I stand by those answers, you have to realize that this is when I'm comparing the show to one of the caliber of Atla. TLOK has many great moments, some that can even rival those of Atla. However, there are some things it can't stand up to and some things it did that lowered its rating altogether. Cough this guy cough. However, if we take it out of the shadow of its predecessor, then it's a solid show that I would recommend it to anyone, with a couple precautions about what they should expect if I'm recommending it to someone who's watched Atla. Overall, not a bad show. 7/10. Asian out.
The next answer is from Julian Hernandez.
I doubt anyone will bring this up because it's more of an observation possibility than a fact. Remember when Appa was stolen by the Sandbenders and Aang and the gang were wandering through the desert looking for a way out and for Appa? Well, they found that hive that had the buzzard wasps in it, and one took Momo away. Aang chased him down a ways away from the others and got Momo back by blowing air. The buzzard was ran away but Aang kept pursuing and killed it cold blood. That right there told me something, that as much of a good influence the Avatar is on the world, he can just as much be a bad influence. Don't believe it because of Rava? Rava said something can support this. One cannot exist without the other. There's a little darkness within me, and a little light that grows in him. That tells me that there is always a little darkness that resides within the Avatar. That one day, if he were to follow a dark path, he could become a bad Avatar. This is a person that learned how to take bending away from people, who wields all four elements and can use the Avatar state that holds unspeakable power. I don't know about you, but I would take myself out if the Avatar became evil.
This is the end of the video. I hope you have more answers. If this answer helps you, please help us too by leaving a like and subscribing to this channel. It allows us to move forward on YouTube. We are coming to the end of this video. You can continue the debate on this question in the comments with the community. See you soon.